And I grew up in a world that was absolutely, had to be real. I mean, if I couldn't, see it or feel it or touch it, then it didn't exist. We can be taught about beliefs in God, beliefs in religion, beliefs in dogma, and it's just that, it's a belief. For my purposes of growing up as, in a strict Catholic environment, I was sort of like, probably the best example of my belief was the old Blood, Sweat, and Tears song. I swear there ain't no heaven, but I pray there ain't no hell. And because there was always a part of me, as much as I could rail against the notions of a domineering, punishing God, part of me said, "Holy smoke! I hope that isn't true. I hope I'm not just condemning myself with this." And changing from believing something and thinking that this could be true, to absolutely knowing it. It's a common thing that, and you'll see this on television or in radio interviews or in media interviews with people that have had a near-death experience. And one of the things that people will say oftentimes, because the interviewer will question them, how do you know this is real? And so you hear things like the near-death experiencer saying, this was more real than real. Right? Well, I think sort of something to lead us to so that we can understand what that means. If you can imagine that you were born with terrible, terrible eyesight, and then on your 18th birthday, somebody handed you a pair of glasses and they put these on, and you put them on, and you went, holy smoke. Look at all that. Look at the color. Look at the clarity of everything. This is so incredible. I can see these little things. I can see all of this. That's more real than real. Our eyes, our perception, our physical senses don't really come close to our perception as true spirit energies that we are. Mm-hmm. Our eyes do not see perfectly. Our spirit does. Our perception sees perfectly. We feel perfectly. Well, whatever that perfect means to me. And I think that's what people mean when they say that the experience was more real than real. Because the perception that we have when we see things from an out-of-body state, when we see things from in a near-death state, which is an out-of-body state, the perception for me was much more vivid, much more powerful. Colors, vibrations, everything exists in such a powerful field of energy and knowing that is beyond anything that we can experience as in the physical human body. I think part of the download, or part of that instant knowing, was that it sort of erased my concepts or my thoughts about who was in control. It reset my concepts of who God was. It was like remembering when we can become consciously aware while we're away from our body, when we're in our original form, which is a conscious living energy. It was like a memory. And I knew that I'm not this body, that I existed long before this body, and I'll exist long after this body is gone. And it's like a notion or an understanding that we are all collectively individuated aspects of the Creator, that we as a collective consciousness are in fact the Creator, encompassing all consciousness, and that includes E.T. And so I don't think I ever had a notion, and maybe for the first time I didn't have a notion that anybody else was responsible for me, except me. This is an interesting question in a Canadian magazine. Asked a number of authors and people, what do you think is the most endearing aspect of humanity? And I thought about it, and I thought, the most remarkable or the most incredible thing that I believe about humanity is the capacity for compassion. I think that's part of that capacity. If we can feel what it's like to be an animal in trouble or another human being in trouble, we have this incredible Christ consciousness capacity. And to me, that speaks about the consciousness of humanity and the most enduring thing. We have the capacity to love. And as far as I'm concerned, there really is no other thing that we need to accomplish other than that. And we do all of this out of love. We return here time after time out of love for each other and for our experiences. And we really, I think, as individuated aspects of the Creator, we return here. We are the Creator's attempt at continuing self-realization and experience. And often hear people talk about if they believe in the reincarnation and sort of like, oh, this is the last time I'm coming back here. I know I'm coming back. Because it's like this, an addictive love, an addictive sense. And I mean, we come here for the tough stuff. If we want easy, we just stay on the other side. But we come here because we are capable of this tremendous compassion and love for each other. And even if we come here to be the button pushers in someone else's life, we all come for a purpose. And it relates to love. And even though we can think of 1 million people or 1 million souls who seem to exemplify the opposite end of that, we're part of that. We created that. Hitler is a part of us. And there is no such thing that I found as a punishing God.